How exciting is this? Right there on the screen, it says, "You are live." Check it out. Here's the new song, everyone. Welcome to the Buyers and Seller pre-show. I'm Jay Skinner. We're going to have some fun, give everybody a chance to get on. Hey, this is Jay Skinner, and you're on the Buyers and Sellers show, pre-show. Thanks for coming. Let's get everybody on every Friday morning at 10:35. And I got a lady in the back room that's eating all the fruit in the green room. I know she is. And we're live. Hey, I'm Jay Skinner. Welcome to the Buyers and Sellers show. We're here about 35 minutes up and down, and today is a special day. I've got someone with us that you're going to love. You're here because of her, I know, the LinkedIn Whisperer, and we're going to let her whisper to us. Look at that. Of course, we're going to bring up the LinkedIn profile, and let's see what she has to say.
Thanks for dropping by my LinkedIn profile. I'm glad you're here. I'm Brynne Tillman, and I help professionals convert their connections into conversations through the power of LinkedIn. If you're looking for tips on how to leverage LinkedIn to grow your business, I invite you to join our free library with hundreds of resources waiting for you. Simply visit socialsaleslink.com/library and check out our events at socialsaleslink.com/events.
And we're live. Hey, Brynne Tillman.
Hi, Jay Skinner.
I'm so glad you came. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
So, why is Brynne Tillman here? Let me just, while you're here, I'm going to say that we've been friends via LinkedIn and social media, and then some common friends like Jeffrey Gittimer that have been friends for years. And I'll tell you, it was like, I knew about you before I knew Jeffrey. And then we're talking, and it's like, I was working his LinkedIn, doing some work for him. And I said, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? He said, I don't know, just call Brynne Tillman. It's like you are the go-to person internationally when it has to do with LinkedIn. How did that happen, Brynne Tillman?
Interestingly, you can all become a micro influencer through the power of social media. Social media, LinkedIn levels the playing field. So you don't have to be a big brand to get a big following. And so I guess I would say I practice what I teach, and it's working out.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will tell you that certainly when it comes to share of mind in the marketplace for your brand, you making it happen. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I want to encourage everyone when you're trying to figure out how to get to know Brynn better, one way is you can go to her website, which is socialsaleslink.com. And we're going to talk about this. Right now, also, those of you that are on board, and I see people coming in, this is a real good opportunity to, through the comment section, ask some questions.
Mhm.
And we will pause. We want to talk to you. We're so glad you're here. Every time you say where you are, I've got people from all over the world that jump on here live. And if you're especially from someplace exotic and wonderful, be sure and say where you are when you make your comments. That being said, I've been on LinkedIn pretty much from the beginning of LinkedIn. I was like, I remember back when it had been in the late 1990s or early 2000s that it started. Do you remember when that date was?
Yeah, I think it's May 5th, 2002.
Okay. And so I'm thinking it was by August or something that the one of the guys at my company that I was working with at the time for 30 years.
I'm sorry, it's 2003. May
Okay.
5th, 2003.
Well, I got introduced to it by the computer guy at our office. Hey, Jay, there's this cool thing. And I got on and I didn't use it the way that we're using it today, but it was still wonderful. And now it's growing. And one of the things that I found in the course of all this was that there were etiquette problems, that the way people behave on social media, and particularly LinkedIn, are kind of problems. And so here are my 3 questions before we get into your things that we're trying to solve. Would you mind talking about some of these etiquette issues that people have and fill the folks in?
So interesting. Your first question, connecting with other people's connections, I think is a great idea with permission, right? So do not go out and name drop someone or connect with someone based on a mutual connection, having not had the conversation with the mutual connection first. But if you take that extra step and I say, hey, Jay, I see you're connected to Bob. I'm looking to get in front of him. How well do you know him? Do you have any insights you can share? And you're like, oh, he's a great guy. And, and then depending on my relationship with you, I could say, great, when I reach out to him, should I tell him you said hello? So now I go, hey, Bob, Jay Skinner and I were chatting on LinkedIn the other day. Your name came up. He says hello.
Yes.
Right?
That is
That,
so much better.
yeah, because it's authentic.
Yes.
It's authentic. Right. And so never name drop without permission. So that's the big one.
Everybody
And
listening,
never poach, right? Never even go in and start poaching. It's just
is that what
it.
you call it when someone, you connect with someone and the next thing you know, they've got like 30 mutual connections that they didn't have before because they've run through. It's like they don't even know my people. Why are they doing this?
So
That's what happens.
yeah. Now I actually encourage you to go search their connections, but
Mhm.
you need to have the conversation. Do
Yes.
not go after those connections until you have permission to use that person's name.
And you know what I tell people is I say, hey, look, we're friends. I love what you're doing. Well, look at my connections. If you see anybody in there you want to be friends with, let me know and I'll hook you up or we'll figure out how to make it happen. But my connections are yours. Just let me know who you want to connect with and I'll help make it happen. And we'll work together on it. And I encourage people to do that rather than what you call poaching. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a business development role, be careful with whom you offer that up to, because if you make that introduction or even permission for them to use your name, your reputation is on the line. So
Yes.
I would say vet the people, have a 15-minute call beforehand before you
Yes.
offer it up.
Oh yeah, and by the way, everybody, I didn't just give everybody in the world permission.
I
But
just
yeah, thanks
right.
for mentioning that. Exactly. Got to vet them. How about tagging and mentioning people when you're doing stuff? What's the etiquette there?
So I would say the only time you can there's a couple times when you can tag without permission. If you've curated content and you're tagging the author, the company the author works for, and or the publication, you are welcome to tag. That's giving them credit for the content that they've produced. I believe you don't need credit for that. They're thrilled that you're
Their
resharing
stuff.
their content.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, if you are tagging someone that you have permission to tag, hey Jay, I'm going to put out some content on sales. Are you okay if I tag you in this? I'd love your thoughts. Yeah, sure. I can now tag. And the third could be your team, internal team. I don't always ask my internal team if I can tag them. I tag them. At this
Yeah.
point, no one has said don't, right? And maybe you only have to ask once.
Yeah.
But what happens when you start tagging? Well, a couple things. If you start tagging people because you want them to see your content, if they untag themselves, one person untags themselves, LinkedIn buries your content. It takes it out of the algorithm. You're done. No one is going to see this organically.
Is that for the rest of your life or just for
No,
that?
for that post. For that post.
Okay. Oh, thank goodness. Yeah. See,
No,
I've
for
made
that
mistakes
post.
in my life.
Because what they're saying is you're spammy, right?
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
to be really, really careful. Now, there's an alternative. There's a little send button at the bottom of every post, and you can get it into their inbox. So I can send it and say, instead of mentioning Jay to get the view or the engagement, I'll say, hey Jay, just recently shared this as a sales expert. I'd love your tip or your insights on this topic. If you're open, please share in comments. But I get into your inbox, so it's not public,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're much more likely to go, wow, she really, like, it doesn't feel like I spammed you. It seems like I took the time to ask you for your insights.
Yes. We've got a bunch of people on. Just a reminder, everyone, feel free to comment. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to post a comment so you can see exactly where to type it. And that would be social selling link. Am I right? Or social
Nope,
sales?
social sales
Or
link.
sales
Yep.
link. Social sales link. I get it just right. SALES link.com, socialsaleslink.com. And I'm going to hit this. And I've thrown that out into there so that everybody can see that. And that way you also know, because if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, or YouTube, it's going to be different places. And while we're here, look, we got some friends come by. Scott Ricard, good to see you. And Doug Wing, he's here. He's one of the former owners of the Little Giant Ladder Company and an author. And he was on
That
my.
is the best ladder ever, ever, ever made.
It is, and his dad founded the company. He was on my show last week, and Doug and I have been. He's done it, I don't know, 3 times now. We are just great buds, and he's a super person to be on the guest. He's like the most. Whenever I announce that Doug Wing's going to be on, it's like I have the most live people. Everybody in the world loves Doug Wing. He's like the nicest person on earth. Who else is here? Sharon. This is my niece, Sharon Skinner Hoffmeister. You'll appreciate this, Brynn, and maybe this will give you an idea of something to talk about. She has gone live every single day for over 3 years for her business, Reveal Products. Sharon, and just type in how many consecutive days that she didn't miss a day, not Christmas, not anything, and she goes live. Is
That's
that important?
amazing.
Isn't that invaluable?
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Amazon reviews. So if you do Amazon products, Sharon, I want to follow you.
All right, Sharon, be sure and get to know Brynn. And then look, here's somebody, Brad Osborne. Oh my gosh, we went to school together. Elementary, junior high, and high school. My friend Brad Osborne. Hey, buddy, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. And Sharon says today will be 1,107 consecutive days.
Well, I can't wait till you hit 1111. That's my lucky number.
All right. And then Doug says, thank you for your kind words. You're welcome, Doug. You're the best. I appreciate it. Okay, so Brynn, lot of people were attracted by these questions. So I'm just going to put up the first one and let you talk about it. I have thousands of connections, but no conversations.
Yeah, this is very common. We'll start with, yeah, like we just collect these business cards and metaphorically put rubber bands around them and stick them in the corner of our desk. That's what it's like when we just have all these connections and they don't go anywhere. It's just sort of a Rolodex of connections. So the first thing we need to do is take inventory. Who are we connected to that we want to have conversations with? There are a couple of ways to do this. You can export your connections into an Excel spreadsheet, put in a column, and just categorize them. The other thing that you can do is you can actually search in the free LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, but if this is available in the free, you can search your first degree connections by title, by industry, by location. So you can build a list of people that is more direct than the Excel of every single person you're connected to. There's a lot of benefit in taking inventory, but the key is now, what do I do? And there are 3 things I recommend. Number 1, start a poll and ask them to vote. Just a good way to start the conversation. Number 2, you can go in, look and see if they're sharing content, engage, and then find content on the same topic. I'm a big fan of sharing podcasts with the people that I want to engage. So if they've got content, and by the way, in Sales Navigator, if you have the premium Sales Navigator, you can actually search and get a list of only people that have content in the last 30 days. So you're guaranteed to have something to engage on. And
Yes,
then
and everyone get into Sales Navigator. If you're working this hard, it makes searching and finding people and all sorts of intelligence is brought to you through that. Okay.
it's an amazing social listening and prospecting tool.
Yes.
So then, so Jay shares something on, the top 5 trends in sales. And I go, ooh, that's what he's interested in. I'm going to go find a podcast. I go to listennotes.com and I will put in the title or something similar to the content you shared. And I'm going to engage in your content and say, hey, Jay, I recently listened to a podcast. Listen to it, by the way, be authentic. I recently listened to a podcast on a similar topic, and actually you can like and engage and then send this in a message, right? So Jay recently listened to a podcast on a similar topic. Here were some of my takeaways. Let me know if you're interested. I'm happy to send you a link. And we restart the conversation. Notice how nothing is, hey, we help companies just like you do this, this, and this. We want to treat the person on the other side of the message the same way we would if they were on the other side of the table. We would never walk up to someone in a networking meeting and say, hi, I'm Brynne Tillman. I help companies just like you. You don't do that. There's a little bit of warming up and small talk. And while you may say, oh God, who has time for small talk? Well, if you have time to go to a networking meeting, think of how much time that 3-4 hours of investing is, where 3 minutes of really personalizing this can make all the difference in the world.
Okay. Let's go to number 2. When I ask for conversations from prospects, I get ghosted.
You've got to earn the right? If we ask too soon, they're annoyed. You think that your call is free, but it's not. They're investing their time, which, by the way, is the most valuable resource that you can never get back. So it's vital that we earn the right and get them excited when we ask for a call, because they're going to get more. And the way to do this is just to consistently show up with value and being a resource.
Now, when we're talking about requesting a call or a conversation, I ask for conversations, I get ghosted. You're talking about trying to get on their calendar or do some sort of a go-to-meeting or a Zoom with them or something like that. That's what we're talking about, right?
Well, regardless of whatever we're asking, right? Well, first of all, this is an ask, right? So when I ask for a conversation, we get ghosted. This is an ask. There is a balance between the ask offer ratio. We are asking them to invest their time in exchange for our content, for our whether or our time, or the time they have to pay for the time with their time. So they have to know that it's a good purchase. They have to know that when they're ready to schedule a call with you, that they know this is going to be a good use of that time. And the only way to do that is to bring value. They test drive you a little bit first, right? And the value can be in content, but it can also be in your profile. You just have, and value is in the eye of the consumer. Just because you think it's value isn't. So make sure you talk to folks about that.
Look at this. I've been connecting, but you do that in your profile right here. You in this video that we played this morning, you were inviting people to talk, and look at that. Schedule a 15-minute Zoom. So if someone wants to talk to you, is that going to cost them anything to talk to you for 15 minutes?
Nope.
Heck no. And that's a chance for someone that they're interested in you. They can proactively find something on your calendar and know that you guys are going to get a chance to talk about their situation.
Absolutely.
It's both ways. Cool. I like it. Okay, here we go. Next, I share content, yet no one engages. What's that about?
It is such a myth that if you build it or if you post it, they will come. There are a lot of things you need to do to amp up the algorithm. The first thing you need to do is engage on a lot of other people's content. LinkedIn will absolutely reward you in getting your content in front of people when you engage on other people's content. If you're sharing content without engaging, they're like, this is a one-way street. We're not promoting this guy or gal. Right? So that's the first thing. Number 2, the content needs to do 5 things to get engagement. Well, the 5th one is the engagement, but you need to resonate with your audience. They need to immediately look at that content and go, this topic is interesting to me. You need to create curiosity where they go, this is worth consuming. Now, number 3, you need to teach them something new, because if it's the same old that they've heard all the time, they're not going to engage. You need to, what you just taught them needs to get them to start thinking differently about their current situation. And you have to ask a question that creates the compelling moment. Sharing comments, your thoughts. Like, what are, you have to encourage them. That's why polls are so great, because, people know how to take action by voting, right? So we have to invite them to engage. The other thing is, just like I said, at the bottom of the content, when we ask someone to comment, I'm just reiterating what I said earlier, is use that send button and ask people for their thoughts and their perspective. People love to be asked to contribute.
Yes, and you do it through the comments right there in LinkedIn, and create a public conversation with people, and they go, oh, I was noticed. Oh, we got someone here, Terrell Gray. Terrell says, thank you, Jay and Brynn. Awesome info. Terrell, so glad. Are you back in the U.S.? Terrell runs a expansive mission in Mexico. And I don't know, sometimes he's in Mexico, other times he's here in town. So good to see you, Terrell. So if people want to connect with you, I gave them the socialsaleslink.com. Your email is also, that's real easy. Brynne, BRYNNE at socialsaleslink.com. And I will tell everybody that when I was first kicking off my own business here as the CEO extender and all the stuff and creating and everything, I got to know Brynne, and it's like, yeah, I had her phone number, and she would talk to me, and she would email me back and be my friend. And it feels so good. And I want to say thank you, Brynne, for being my friend.
Oh,
Because when I
thank
needed it, I was like, I didn't know. I was working on stuff. I thought it was pretty smart, but really smart people like you were like accessible. And it's so much helped me get to where I am today, which is better than I was 3 years ago,
Well,
so
I'm
thank you.
thrilled. That brings great joy. And, the bottom line is relationships still matter. Social does not take away the relationship side. It actually strengthens it because you can have more conversations in a day, and the fact that we can do video conversations, I feel like I know you. Like I really know you, even though we've never hugged. I still feel like, you're my buddy, and I love that.
Me too. And it's so cool. Look, see who else is Terrell's answering. Yes, he's working here in the States with addicts, just helping people enjoying life. Thank you,
Thank
Terrell.
you for your service. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Really making an impact for people.
So this is the last comment, but really it's the overreaching reason why we're all here is everyone says I need to use LinkedIn, but I can't figure out how to do it successfully. So I have a feeling you have a way of addressing that question, and I would like to hear that because there are folks that are just a little puzzled or a lot puzzled about how to get into this and get it going. What do you say to that?
Yeah. So the first thing you have to do is get your head in the right space, right? You have to recognize that this is a 24/7 networking meeting. These people are showing up. It's asynchronous networking, but it's networking, right? And so we have to look at this as not make a list and all these people are my prospect, but here are the people that I'd like to start a conversation with, build rapport, and explore if there's a professional relationship to develop.
Mhm.
Right. And so when you come at this where you're detaching from what that prospect is worth to you and you attach to what you are worth to the prospect, the abundance theory will just blow up. Like when you will attract people when you're accessible, when you have real conversations with people without thinking how much they're worth to you.
Yeah, or
That's
what they're
one of
gonna
the
buy
biggest
next, or how am I
what
gonna
they're yeah.
close this, or all that tricky stuff people try to do.
Yeah, and the bottom line is if the more you help, the more people want to work with you. I'm on a call with someone yesterday or 2 days ago, and I'm helping him. They're like, okay, how do I buy from you? Like that's what they said. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, that's awesome, right? How do I work with you? What can we do? I love this.
yeah,
Right? It's not hard to do, but you have to be authentic about wanting to create those relationships.
yes. And when you're doing that, that's an that's an exercise in people working through some of their old past habits. I was, in fact, there's there may be someone on here, and if she is, I would love for you to comment and ask your questions. But I was talking to a lady the other day, and every time she got into sales, it was a train wreck for her. But she's like this super smart person, and as we were talking and I was understanding what it is, I said, "Well, you haven't been trained in proper sales methodology and how to approach people and things. The stuff you've learned is manipulative, it's pushy,
Mhm.
it's not anything that's going to be particularly attractive to the folks you're trying to sell. And so you just need some good old sales training." What do you think about that, Brynn, about good old sales training and knowing how to behave when you're in front of a prospect?
So I want to be careful because the good old sales training is the manipulation generally, right? So I think they need good new sales training.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
just changing that to, you know, I mean, there are some really amazing sales training
Mhm.
that are like evergreen out there. A few that I just absolutely love, but the new way is not, show up with your pad and your pen and say, okay, what keeps you up at night?
Oh
Because
yeah.
that used to be the way that you were trained. Or the upfront contract where I say, hey, if you at any time you feel like we're not a fit, please tell me and I'll tell you. And I'm like, So the first engagement we have is think about how not to work with me, right?
Yeah.
So now if we start that from an authentic, I want to help you, I don't have this upfront contract because I don't even know if there's an opportunity. I don't know what's here, but let me learn from you and let me see if I can help you and let's explore if it makes sense. But I find it so offensive when someone's like, well, the first thing they're going to do, tell me if you think there's not a fit and I'll tell you if there's not a fit. I'm on my defensive. Like you're going to judge me and tell me if I'm not a fit. That is the old sales training in my mind, right?
And
And
here's a sales guy that understands it. Brad, my old friend from school, he's a big time businessman from here in the Indianapolis area. And this means a ton for him to say there's so much good stuff here.
well,
Thanks
thanks,
for that,
Brad.
Brad. He's kind of a big deal. So this is good. When you talked about the old time sales method, you're exactly right. And we can go on. Uh, the good news, and you know this as well, is that interspersed over the years, there were some good ones.
Mhm.
And it's just, did people have the luck to run into them and get that kind of training? And I've had it all. I mean, 19 non-manipulative selling by Dr. Tony Alessandra. He's
I
one of the,
love that.
yeah,
It's
it's like he was one of my mentors, but this was like from 1980. He and I have been friends for a long time. I was just wanting to look at the date on this thing.
it's so sad that he had to write a book.
1979. Yeah,
It's so sad that he had to write a book about how not to manipulate when you're selling because so many people were taught to manipulate.
I know. But that was in 1979, 1980. But it's like not everybody got a hold of that. At the same time, there was someone out there teaching people how to be manipulative and do something and crazy stuff like you pull out the contract and you drop the pen so they got it in their hand at the kitchen table. Can you believe that?
Yeah, people taught that.
Some of the industries that were teaching some of this stuff. So this lady that I was talking about has had a bunch of training in these industries to the point where she hates sales, and I would too if that's what sales was. But what Brynn is talking about and what I've engaged in and developed in my lifetime is a whole different program. I mean, just like Jeffrey Gittimer. We love Jeffrey. This
Mhm.
in 2 weeks, I'm going to be at his place at Wild Dunes with two of my sales guys that I'm working with one of the clients to do training in assertive selling. And that doesn't mean being an idiot or a jerk. And he's going to
Mhm.
talk to people about the same sort of selling methodology that you and I love and believe. And we're all from the same school. You
Mhm.
and me and Jeffrey and Tony and I hate to say it, but it almost seems like a handful of them. But if you all are sitting here and you're thinking, wow, what is this? Well, Bryn's your kind of person. And what she's bringing to you something that is that makes sense, common sense way of approaching people so that they're attracted to you and they want to do something. And they say, how can I buy something from you? That's what you talked about.
Right. Right. How do you bring enough value that you earn the right?
Everyone, this has been wonderful. And Brynn, I thank you so much for gracing me on my show by being on my show with me. You're definitely going to help my SEO.
Well, thank
I'll
you.
have more views on this video than anything else because people love what you're talking about. They love you, and your company is impactful internationally.
Oh, I
So
appreciate it. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. So with that in mind, is there anything we're wrapping it up here, but I want to know, is there anything in particular that's on your heart that you just like want to make sure everybody knows and hears before we get done? Oh, and excuse
So
me, but Brad said thank you.
oh, our pleasure. Or my I shouldn't talk for you, but I think it's our pleasure.
Yes, it is
Um,
our absolutely.
um, steer away. What's on my heart and my mind is steer
Mhm.
away from automation. Steer away from outsourcing, mass messaging, cold call. Steer away from cold calling on LinkedIn and really focus on strategically identifying the people that you want to communicate with and build rapport and provide value hyper personalized. Because if you move this into a marketing campaign, which so many people do, like I can get you 40 appointments in a month, and then they run these automations and spam people, and
Mhm.
it hurts you. It does not help. And by the way, you don't get 40 appointments, right? So you just don't.
Right.
So the end of this, if you what do you want people to know is LinkedIn is a relationship building tool, not a cold calling tool.
There you go. Everybody think about that. And
Mhm.
thank you for coming, Brynne Tillman. Uh,
Thanks for
Back to the
having me.
green room. Don't eat all the fruit because I'll be back there later on. And thank you. God bless you. Appreciate you
Oh,
coming.
I
Let's
love
see.
being here.
Awesome. Talk to you later. And everyone, I want to thank you for being on the Buyers and Sellers Show. Every Friday morning at 10:35 a.m. The Buyers and Sellers Show. I'm Jay Skinner. You can catch me at thejayskinner.com. See you next week. Bye now.